Okay, Pete Guitar Martin here. So yeah, I'm restringing this guitar, and this is part 2. I've already put most of the strings on. These are the new strings. These are threaded through already. We're going to add these on. I'm going to show you a couple things I do with the needle nose plier, but also I didn't do it this time because I guess I was distracted doing the video, but I mean, I usually wipe down here. If I have the strings off, I'm going to take the opportunity to wipe down in this area that I can't usually get to. So, you know, I recommend you go ahead and clean and polish the pick guard and the headstock while you have the strings off, okay? Because then you can do a way better job in way less time, okay? All right, so now, I'm just going to show you a couple things with this video. It's funny because when I first got a YouTube channel, for a while they had me classified as comedy instead of music instruction. And I'm like, wow, with that last video and dropping the guitar on the floor and everything is like, yeah, maybe I should go back to having being classified as comedy here. But anyway, like I said, I'm not really a guitar tech, but I did have some of my regulars ask me to, you know, show them how to restring a guitar. So that's why I'm doing this video. Now, you'll see with this guitar, there's this little clip here. This is for strings 1 and 2. They tuck underneath there and keep them lower than the bridge. That's something unique, I think, to the, well, it's not only the Fender guitars that use it, but you know, that's something you'll see on most Fender guitars, or at least the Stratocasters. All right, so I'm going to restring these 2 guitars. I'm going to show you a little trick I do with the needle nose. Then we're going to clip the ends of the strings off, and we're going to wrap them up and put them in the box I just bought. And sometimes I put them in the plastic wrapper. The box is better in terms of protecting other people using the same garbage can you're putting these in. You don't want somebody to be trying to push down garbage and put something new in there and all of a sudden cut or scratch themselves on your string. So, but I want to make sure that I do this so that if I can't remember I have a bunch of different guitars. If I can't remember the gauge or the brand or the model, and I want to keep using the same thing so I don't have to set up the guitar, because when you get different strings, you should set the guitar up, especially different gauge strings. So I always keep a blank one of these in my case, but I already have a spare pack and half a spare pack in there, so I don't need to save this one. I can use it to dispose of my strings. All right, so now, all right, so I'm going to put these first 2 strings on, showing the wrap method I use again, and I'm gonna have probably a harder time because the thinner the string, the harder it is for me to see it, and I don't have a pair of reading glasses, which I desperately need right now. Now I can take these and tuck them out of the way. I'm gonna clip them off all at once because it's a lot faster that way. All right, so now I'm taking this, making sure it's in the groove here, making sure that it's in any groove on the bridge on the other end. Coming around with this, all the tuning pegs are on the top, so you're going to bring the string around from the bottom, and if you had some on one side and some on the other side, the string goes and starts wrapping on the inside. So if you got tuning pegs on this lower part of the headstock closer to the ground, they're going to come around over top and wrap the other way, and then you got to turn the peg the other way too to tighten. Any rate, but this style has them all on the same side. So again, I'm wrapping the string around the tuning peg. I'm going to do it 3 times. I'm holding it down after each wrap, down below the eye hole with my thumb. This takes practice, at least took me practice, and now I can't really see what I'm doing between the lighting and my eyesight and the thinner string. I'm going more by feel than by looks. Did I get it in the eye hole? No, I didn't. And this is tricky until you get it tightly and securely all the way through that eye hole. It could pop out and the whole thing comes unraveled. You also want to be careful right now you don't poke yourself in the eye. So if you're not in a hurry like I often am, you might want to cut these strings off one at a time. It'll take longer, but it'll be safer. Okay, now it's through the eye hole. If I just let go, it might pop out the other side, so I'm using both hands and both fingers. Now I'm going to grab this. So I'm going to grab this, pull it straight out. It's relatively tight. Now at this point, I'm gonna do something I've been saying all last video, all part one. Don't kink it, but I'm gonna turn it, and that way I can get a better grip with this so that this doesn't slip. I don't wanna do this on the other side of the eye hole or even really close to the eye hole. Okay, so I'm just pulling that a little tighter that way. Now this somehow got hooked on the wrong. Am I still underneath this? Oh my gosh, can't see what I'm doing. Oh, this isn't tight at all. What happened? Oh, that's the first string. Gosh, the second string is on the wrong nut slot. So I told the string here, somehow the second string is underneath. How did that get underneath there? Anyway, it's on the nut underneath the third string that's already tight. That's bizarre. It wasn't, okay. So all right, now I gotta make sure that's a shadow. It makes it look like a string, it's not. Okay, now I've got it through the slot and underneath that clip. Now I'll take this, see, through the slot and underneath the clip. I'm holding it underneath the clip where it's gonna just pop out until I tighten the string some more. So now I'm tightening the string while still holding the string in place with my other hand. So that, you know, it's a little tricky sometimes. It takes some experience. And you know, some guitar tech would be way faster and probably have better tricks for you, but this is what I do. I'm putting it through that slot and putting it there. And there's other ways to wrap these, but listen, I don't have my string slip. You know, there's some ways that you can secure the string better, but I don't use those fancy techniques. This actually has been working for me. I haven't had any problems once the strings are on. And I'm slipping this through the last eye hole. I mean, the only next thing I have to show you is I'm going to clip off the ends of these other of the new strings. I'm going to clip those off and I'm going to bend them around for safety reasons so that I don't get a puncture wound. I'm going to pull this over here. I'm pulling it through the eye hole, try to get it as tight as possible. I'm not really happy with these needle nose right now. They slip too easy. They don't have the teeth right, the grip's not good enough. Just trying to pull it straight through the eye hole to tighten it, and I don't think anything's really happening. So that's not doing much with that. I need a different needle nose for that job, because that's just not grabbing the string well enough. It's just slipping. All right, so I'm going to tighten this. I'll hold this down because the actual last wrap is at the bottom. See how I hold it down with my thumb? The last wrap's at the bottom. I don't want the wraps going over top of each other, because if they're crossed like that, they might jump down. Then all of a sudden, my string flops flat, and maybe with the stress, perhaps breaks. Okay, another thing I'm going to show you is to stretch the strings out so that they don't go, you know, out of tune all the time. So just to make sure these are all tight enough that I feel comfortable clipping off the end. If I over tighten, you know, a little bit, maybe a whole step or something, it's not a big deal. It's just helped me to break the strings in. But if I tighten too much, they'll break. All right, so now this is a handy dandy tool. You got to grab here and you pull this up. Oh, grab the wrong end. All right, pull that apart. Anyway, this has to be the right thing. So now I got it so I can clip the ends of these strings. So I want to be careful I don't accidentally clip the tight end. I'm going to leave a little bit, about, you know, maybe a centimeter or two of string, and then I'm going to wrap that string around. I'm being real careful right now to do it. If you do it this way, you're probably going to puncture your thumb the first few times. I'm storing these over here. I'm going to put them all in the same little place and gather them up when I'm done. They're too small for me to try to hang on to. I'll be dropping them all the time, and it's better to place them together in a spot than to have to try to find them on the floor. All right. So I'm wrapping, after I cut it off, I'm wrapping the string around, and I could use maybe the metal like that to do it if I don't want to touch my finger. And that kind of, I don't really want the pointy end on this side. I want the pointy end on that side, away from where my fingers are likely to be. Okay. And that's just to keep from poking or scratching myself or somebody else doing the same thing. I'm wrapping it this way. You know, sometimes somebody else will play your instrument, hopefully with your permission. Okay. I don't want to have hazards for people sitting around. I don't want people to get hurt. Bleed on my guitar, that's the main problem. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm just bending it away from this end. All right, good enough. So now I have the 6 pieces of scrap off the new string, and some of these are too short for me to really wrap around, so I'm just going to try and force them into that little box in such a way they don't pop out. Maybe I bend some of them, or maybe even I wrap some of them, but it'll probably be easier just put the short ones, stick the short ones straight in there. I'm going to count as I put them in. All right, this is just doing that and tying it. So we got 1, make sure it doesn't pop its way back out. 1, 2. I could try wrapping them all together like I did the other ones, but like I said, the small ones are not really going to do this. And I lost count. I have 2 in there now, so this makes 3, is it? Let's see how many are sitting on the chair. 3. Yep, 4, 5, 6. So this is the 3rd one. I'm not even wrapping that one, it's so short. Wrap this maybe. Now it's going to come undone and pop out. Just going to put that in sideways. And I'm careful not to puncture myself on another string while I'm doing this. And I'm going to wrap this up. And I'm just going to basically tie it in a knot. Now, once I have them all in there, I can take this cardboard, wrap it over top of everything. Right, stuff it in here. Doesn't have to be pretty. Okay. So now I got all my string straps in this cardboard box. I got a little brass thing out here, but no pointy ends are coming out of this. So now I can safely put it in the garbage can, which I'm going to do. So, okay. So one last thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to stretch these strings so that this is a little process I do to keep a brand new string from going out of tune a lot. You know, some people are like, you change the strings the day of a gig or the day before the gig? Yeah, well, usually a lot of people won't do that because they're like, oh, that's going to be going out of tune on the gig. And, you know, well, first of all, I tune my guitar before every set and sometimes in between songs anyway, even if I don't have brand new strings on. So they, you know, that's part of being a professional. It's like, you know, you want to be a beginner, an intermediate, an advanced student, you know, an amateur player, a jammer, a professional, a world-class, virtuoso, part of that is how well you do the basics, and playing in tune is really important. And there's a lot more to playing in tune than having your guitar in tune, but it helps to have the guitar in tune. This is a live concert of Jeff Beck playing. It was so funny because he would tune by ear, in between every song, and you could hear, well, even though he's tuning in between every song, he's out of tune. You know, he got closer, but he's still pretty out of tune. But then every single note he played was perfectly in tune. So it's a lot about what you do with your hands. So that's an F on the E string, so it's a little high. The B is tuned to an A sharp, so it's a little low still. So I'm going to bring it up. See, I'm looking at my tuner right now, see? So now I just brought that was an A sharp, I brought it up to a C. I want to start out a little bit high, because I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull and tug these strings to stretch them, and it gets the play. The G is in an A, that's a whole step high. The D is in an A. No, the D is in an E. That's better. I was going to say, it didn't sound that high. The A is at an A sharp. I'll go to a little bit more. And then the E is saying it's an A sharp. Let's see, I'm going to use my ear to hear some. Where are we now? That's way low. Yeah, that E string's not tight at all. Now, as I turn these around, see that stray wire? I want to make sure that goes over top of the string, not underneath. Okay? All right. So, just want to show you that. It showed itself. So now I use an F sharp. So now what I'm going to do, everything is tighter than it needs to be. I'm going to pull this, I'm going to grab the string with my fingers, try to pull it straight up and tug it like 3 or 4 times. And that's going to stretch the string, and it's going to go flat. See, it was an F sharp. Now it's an E. It's a little sharpie. I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'm going to do that with each string. So I'm just going to tug these strings, tug, 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 tug. The thinner ones I want to be really careful of. You know, I want to make sure I'm pulling straight up, because I don't want to move it. There's a little groove here. The string itself has worn a groove in this bridge. I don't want to move it back and forth. I might break the string. And my battery's getting low. All right, so basically I do this several times, and I do it on any string, and then I bring them in tune, and I pull until, like, that's tuned to an E now. I'm going to loosen it up. This is the D string. I'll show you how to do it on the D string, and then it's just the same process with the others. So that's still an E, so it's tight. Let me pull it a couple more times. What I do is I get it in tune, and when I'm done, I want to end on a tightening turn. So I actually want to drop below the pitch at some point. Now it's at a D sharp. Well, that G sharp was a bad reading, but it was a D sharp before that. Say D sharp, and it's a sharp D sharp. If I tug on it, it might go a little flatter, but you know, I want to bring it in tune to a D. I'm going to drop it below because I want to end on a tightening turn. I end on tightening turns because I don't want latent slack. I'm tugging some more. That was almost a D. It was reading as a D sharp. Well, now I tugged on it, it read as a D. See, so when I tug on it, it goes flatter. So let me try it again. I either want to end with a tug, which means there's no latent slack when I'm tugging the string, or I want to end with a tightening turn again, so I don't have latent slack. So now I'm below D. I'm going to bring it up. Usually I use 2 hands to do this, but I'm holding with a phone. Now I'm a little bit sharp. Let me tug some more, see if I can bring it back. It's still sharp. Let me try another tug. I've tugged this a lot, so I've already stretched a lot of the play out. It's not really slipping much. My point is I want to be able to tug the string and not have it go flat. When I've done that, I feel like I've gotten basically the play out of the string from it being a new string. So now it's in tune. Let me tug it again. 1, 2, 3. See if it drops flat. It didn't. So I took the play out of that string. See there? Now, I'm not saying it's not going to go flat. It will. And it'll probably still go flat more frequently right now than the strings I just took off. Okay, but I've taken the major problem away. And I do that with each and every string. So then, when I'm tuning, I want to make sure all my strings are in tune. I go through twice. If I want to make sure, getting ready for a performance, I want to go through at least twice. You know, check the tuning on each string and not have to make a single adjustment to the tuning peg. if I can go through the whole 6 strings twice without making adjustments to the tuning peg, I feel like I've locked it in. You know, the tension on one string affects the tuning on the adjacent string. You know, plus things change and whatnot. But, you know, just another thing about intonation on strings. If you're going from a hot area to a cold area, it causes the string to go sharp. If you go from a cold area to a hot area, it causes them to go flat. So if you take your guitar out of a hot car, like is frequently the case here in Florida, and bring it into an air-conditioned place, it's going to go sharp. So I usually, when I get to a gig, I'll take my guitars out pretty early, put them in a safe spot so they don't get knocked over while stuff's moving around, and put them on a guitar stand to get them acclimated to the temperature of the room. You know, and then after I'm done setting up, then I'll do my tuning process, and the guitar's already kind of acclimated to the room. So if you live up north and you're coming out of your car's been sitting in your guitar's been sitting in the car, and it's snowing outside and it's cold, and then you go into a heated place, your strings are probably going to go flat because you're going from cold to hot. See? So, all right. I hope that helped you. So that was part 1 and part 2. Changing the strings, unedited process here. I'm not editing these videos, so I hope that helped you. And you know, go ahead and leave things in the comments section. Usually what I do is I go watch these videos, and in the comments section I put little markers. So like I can mark the time, so it's like I can say, oh, here's how to make sure the play's out of the string so your brand new strings don't go out of tune so quick. You know, and then you can, if that's what you're interested in, you can just punch that in the comments section. It'll blip you right to that section of the video. You don't have to watch the whole thing if you're only interested in part of it, or you don't have to rewatch it if you want to go back and see a certain thing. So sometime over the next week or so, I'll go in there and I'll put little markers in there to help you guys navigate through these longer videos. All right, Pete Guitar Martin over and out. Hope you have a great day.